Good afternoon. On behalf of Principal Alfonso Otero, Athletic Director John Barnahill, the Highland Alumni Association, and the Highland Hall of Fame Committee, welcome to the 2025 Highland Hall of Fame Sports Induction Ceremony. I'm Ed Nunez from the class of 1980. I'm the committee chairperson of the Highland Hall of Fame Committee. Let's meet our committee members. From the class of 1957, Buddy Robertson, who was a special recognition honoree in 2024. From the class of 1974, former Highland baseball coach Tim McCorkle. Gary Sanchez, who coached track at Highland from 1977 to 2012, coached football from 1990 to 2010, and is a 2024 Highland Hall of Fame inductee. Curtis Spencer from the class of 1977. Marie Smith Everett, class of 1979. And Marlo Maxson from the class of 1985. Please give our committee members a round of applause for their hard work and dedication to your Highland Sports Hall of Fame. On September 5th of 2024, we lost a dear friend and board member, Gary Spitzberg. Gary was an original member of our board. He had a rich knowledge of Highland athletic history and a true passion to be a Hornet. His wife, Hallie, is with us today. Hallie, could you please stand? We wanted to give Gary the proper send-off. He was a big part of our committee. Since its inception, our committed board of Highland alumni are passionate about this recognition event. In 2022, we realized immediately we had a tall task in front of us going back 74 years. Highland, as we all know, has a rich history of outstanding female and male athletes. We sent out nominations earlier this year. We met in April, and today we are proud to celebrate the third year of recognition of Highland High School standout athletes. Highland athletics will not live on if we do not honor where we came from. The past creates the present. We feel that every class we induct and will induct will reflect that. We have our purpose, our mission statement, to preserve our athletic history. The Highland High School Sports Hall of Fame was founded in 2022. It was organized for the purpose of recognizing the outstanding athletic achievements by Highland High School alumni. It serves as a means of honoring and recognizing the athletes, teams, coaches, and staff who made significant contributions to the Hornet tradition of excellence. We'll now begin our induction ceremony. Our first inductee is Jack Stroud. Jack graduated from Highland in 1961, where he participated in football and baseball. In football, he was all-city, all-state. In baseball, he made the all-city team, the all-state team, and was a member of the 1959 New Mexico State Baseball High School Championship here at Highland. He was the Highland High School Athlete of the Year in 1961. He attended the University of Missouri, playing baseball where he was part of a Big 8 championship. His 1964 team at Missouri still has a record for ERA by a pitching staff, was still a record to this day, giving up .65 runs per game. That year, Jack was named Sporting News All-American. Jack was drafted by the New York Mets. Here to accept his induction into the Highland Sports Hall of Fame is Jack Stroud.
Thank you, Ed. It's a true honor today to be here around so many great athletes that have gone through this hallway. I'm particularly happy to be here with two of my old classmates and teammates, and Bob McCorkle, who we just talked about 70 years ago, played Little League Baseball. He played for Bargaintown, I played for Strombergs. And Jim Zanius, who I played football for 3 years with and was one of the best football players I played with and a great human being. I also was very lucky to play with three legends, coaching legends here at Highland. I was on Bill Gentry's first Highland football team. Henry Sanchez Wilson Junior High led our high school or our junior high football team to the city championship. And then I played for Mickey Miller for 3 years, and particularly on the 1959 state championship team. There's one other coach that very few people will recognize that had a contribution at Highland High School. During my time here, he assisted Mickey Miller on our 1959 baseball team. He worked with Bill Gentry on the football team, and I played for him for a number of years on the post-99 Hornet baseball team, American Legion baseball team. This man taught me more about teamwork, responsibility, and discipline than anybody I've ever known. He was instrumental in helping me get my athletic scholarship to the University of Missouri. He got me to spring training with the Cleveland Indians. He's truly an inspiration to me and one of my 5 most favorite people in my life. Many of you know him probably more by being the former head basketball coach at that dreaded rivalry of Highland, Albuquerque High, where he won over 600 games, went to 24 state tournaments, and won 7 state championships. And would you all welcome me in giving a big hand to nobody other than Jim Holzman and his beautiful wife, Mary Lois Holzman. I might mention, Jim, I used to have a goatee, but Jim hated facial hair. You know, I feel like I could stand up here and possibly tell you how wonderful I am and all the great things I did, but frankly, my family and my friends don't care anything about what I did. They were more interested in who I played with and against. I didn't pitch to Barry Bonds, but I did pitch to his dad, Bobby Bonds. And if many of you remember, Bobby Bonds was in an outfield with the San Francisco Giants with Willie Mays and Willie McCovey. And my minor league manager told me, if you just throw the ball underhand, he can't hit it. So I went to the 9th inning. I had struck him out 3 times. I had 2 outs. I'm ahead 4-0, and I got 2 strikes on him. And I decided this is the time I sneaked the fastball by. Well, to make a long story short, if you saw the movie The Natural, when Robert Redford hit that ball into center field and knocked the light out in the center field tower, I had a similar experience. And my manager fined me $50. In those days, I was only making $300 a month, so it was a lot of money. Also, in 1965, in the very first year of the Major League Draft, I got drafted by the New York Mets. And for 10 days, I was on a pitching staff to where I'm probably the only one, the one you heard of, and the other 3 were Jerry Kuzma, Nolan Ryan, and Tom Seaver. And finally, lastly, I hurt my arm before anybody had ever heard of Tommy John. And all they did was fill me full of cortisone and Novocaine and put me back on the mound. And finally, my arm was like you'd run a car 100,000 miles with no oil. But I've often thought and been asked, do you ever regret that you didn't hurt your arm and that you might have had a great Major League Baseball career? And I had the same answer then that I have now. Had I not hurt my arm, I probably would not have met my wife of 60 years, Corky, who's sitting here in my high school letter sweater right now. Nor would I probably have had my son, Clark, who for 20 years was Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Students at the University of Oklahoma and is now the Director of Professional Development for the University of Southern California Trojans. And my daughter, Amanda, who for the past 25 years has been in the top 50 mortgage loan officers in the country. They each married incredibly well. They gave us 2 great, wonderful grandkids in Callahan and McKenna. And Sammy and Jackson, I almost forgot that one. But I think what it proves is the old adage that says, we're all far better off if we spend our time appreciating the blessings that have been bestowed upon us as opposed to going on a fool's errand and speculating about what might have been. I thank you very much for your time.
Let's give one more big hand for Jack Stroud. Our next inductee is Bob McCorkle. Bob graduated from Highland in 1959, where he played football, basketball, and baseball and earned 7 varsity letters. In football, Bob was All-City and honorable mention All-State quarterback. He made the North All-Star team. In basketball, he was an honorable mention All-City team. In baseball, All-City, All-State, with a batting average of .463. He was also part of the 1959 State Baseball Championship here at Highland and made the North-South All-Star team. Bob was named Sportsman of the Year at Highland in 1959. He attended UNM, playing football on scholarship. Played baseball at UNM and was part of the Skyline Conference Championship. Here to accept his induction into the Highland Sports Hall of Fame is Bob McCorkle.
Wow, this is kind of fun. I want to first of all congratulate everybody else that's inducted. I've seen your your achievements, and I'm very impressed with all of you. My very good friend Jim Zanius is sitting there. I remember the big husky guy that played at Texas Tech. I remember he was a 140-pound sophomore at Highland. Of course, Jack Stroud, we've known each other, besides 70 years. When we played Little League Baseball, he came from Bandelier and played on the Strongburg team. And I came from Monte Vista and played on the Bargaintown team. And we've agreed that we are the only guys that remember each other from that Little League time. I was especially happy to see that a female is being inaugurated, Carol Knauber. When I was at Highland, women just didn't have a chance. But I happen to know that women can compete, they can be as athletic as men, because I married one. I married a championship golfer that is as competitive as any man I've been around, and she is positive proof that women deserve every single opportunity that men have. When I was a young lawyer, I got a call from somebody that was on the high school athletics or something like that, because he had remembered me, and there was a young girl that wanted to play on the boys golf team in Roswell. He said, "Can you write a nasty letter for us?" And I wrote that nasty letter, and Nancy Lopez got to play on the boys golf team. If you're not a golfer, Nancy Lopez is one of the fan favorites and most famous girl that ever played on the LPGA Tour. Now, all of our nominees have one thing in common. It's one of these, one or more. You know, I'll get back here. Sorry.
That's okay.
As I remembered, they were bigger than this, but whatever size it is, it's something we cherish. Now, all the nominees had, even though I don't know them, I know they have the same things in common. They were born with exceptional athletic ability. They worked hard to develop their skills. Somewhere along the line, they had some good luck, but most of all, they thrived on competition. I don't know whether a competitive spirit you're born with or not, but I know that all of these inductees had that competitive spirit. Now, competition is about winning and losing. I can tell you winning's a whole lot more fun. I think competitors hate to lose. When I was playing, I think it was more about not losing rather than winning. I was recruited to play football at UNM by Marv Levy. Those of you that follow football are well aware he took 4 teams to the Super Bowl. And he told me once that you learn more character on the 2-yard line than anything else you can do other being in comment. Now, I ran into Marv Levy at a grocery store in California 5 or 10 years ago, and I was standing there, and this very small man was talking to somebody, and I recognized that voice. And I said, "Coach," and he turned around, and he says, "Do I know you?" And I said, "Well, you gave me a football scholarship in 1959. He reached over and he grabbed me by the sleeve and he said, "Did you graduate?" That's the kind of character of the coaches that I got to deal with. Competition does build character. You can define character any way you want. I define it as just being a gentleman, gentlewoman, and being a good sport. Highland High School was, when I started out here in 1956, was the only high school east of the railroad tracks. We were the biggest school. We were a 3-year school. We dominated all sports. When any team played us, we were the biggest team, the most important team they had on their schedule. Highland was a fun place to be. The girls were prettier than they'd been in junior high. We all got to have a car. You didn't have to have your sister drive you on dates anymore. And probably the most fun I ever had was running right through that door there. We were wearing our basketball warm-ups, and we'd run around this gym twice before we sat down over here while the crowd sang, "Bring on the Hornets." I was never, as you can tell, the biggest, the strongest, the fastest of any team. I got some recognition that I appreciated, probably didn't deserve. But I am most proud of the fact that in my senior year, I was captain of 4 teams. Now, it's important to me because that's what your fellow players and your coach thought of you. That was much more important to me than what a sports writer might write about who should be on the all-state or all-city team. Highland was not just about sports. It's where I really started paying attention to schoolwork. I was a National Merit Scholar. I received academic scholarships at both UNM and Stanford Law School, and it's all because of the start I got at Highland. The day after I graduated from Highland, Milwaukee Braves took me back to Milwaukee. They'd won World Series. It was really a recruiting trip. I got to wear the uniform, and County Stadium, I think, sat about 50,000 people, and the second day I was there, the catcher, Del Crandall, the catcher catches the balls right before the game, throws them back to the pitcher. Del Crandall threw me the ball and said, "Go see what it's like to be a big leaguer." So I go out behind home plate, and they sing in the Star Spangled Banner, and Warren Spahn, the great Hall of Fame pitcher, he does this. Those of you who don't know in baseball, that means a curve is coming. So he throws this major league curveball, and it hit me right here. So the ball rolls away, and I'm on national television trying to hobble over, and pick up the ball. I got a nice offer, very nice offer to play baseball, but that meant I'd have a job. I wasn't ready for a job. I wanted to keep my amateur standing. and also wanted to play in the North-South game. Pretty short-sighted, but I stayed with my academics. Now, everybody is going to acknowledge their coaches. They were so important to our life. But the most important coach I had is sitting right out there, Jim Holzman. Nobody knew baseball like he knew. Nobody cared about the kids like he knew. He got our championship, 1959 baseball championship team, ready to go while Mickey Miller still was coaching basketball. We had a celebration for that 59 championship team, which was the only state championship I was ever on when I was at Highland. And Jim Holzman could name every single guy that was on that team. He cared about us. He cared about us. I like him because he really had a cool sports car. But I don't think anybody ever worked as hard or did as much or meant as much to athlete as Jim Holzman. I had two other coaches. One was Henry Jacobs, who coached the Little League team when Jack and I were doing Little League. And he taught me how to play basketball and baseball when I became a catcher. And he had been a professional baseball player, but he didn't know about being a catcher. So he went out and got a coach from another junior high school, Al Wright, to come over to Jefferson Junior High to teach me how to be a catcher. Now, Jacobs went to go on and be a coach at Monsanto High School, where he coached with Dave Brummel. Then I want to just repeat about Mickey Miller. Mickey Miller was the most decent person I ever met in my life. Mickey Miller did the right things. Now, Coach Jacobs taught me how to play. Mickey Miller told me how you should play. I'm going to just mention a couple things that are funny to me. The day after the North-South game, which I was captain of the team and we won, they had my picture in the paper scoring that touchdown. But the caption under it was, "Unidentified North player carries the ball." Tommy McDonald was a little bit ahead of my time, but when he was drafted by the Eagles, he was supposed to play a wide receiver, which he'd never done. So the Eagles sent him 2 NFL footballs and said, find some guy with a strong arm who can throw it like the NFL quarterbacks. He found me and persuaded me to throw him passes. I threw him passes all summer long before he was going to report to the Eagle, and I threw passes until my mind hurt. I don't know how I ever lost the autographed football he gave me, but I did. I played 16 years of team sports, 35 teams, and all I remember is the teammates that I had. I cherish knowing those teammates I had. When I graduated from Stanford Law School and became a lawyer, I knew exactly what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a trial lawyer because that's the most competitive thing a lawyer can do. You have a win and you have a loss. I want to thank the committee for selecting me to this honor. I honestly never thought I was entitled to it, never expected to get it, but the committee works long and hard, and I appreciate their doing it. I want to leave you with a little bit of knowledge about sports. This is a quote from Jim Holzman. He says, you win some, you lose some, and some are rained out. The other one I want to leave you is a quote from Brentland Rice, a famous sports writer. He said, "When a great scorekeeper comes to put a mark by your name, it's never whether you won or lost, it's how you played the game." I want to thank you all for listening to an 84-year-old guy ramble on about being lucky enough to get to play some sports. And now with this honor, I guess I can call myself a certified, genuine has-been. Thank you.
Let's give one more big hand for Bob McCorkle. In our special recognition category, our inductee this year is Bobby Gibbs. Bobby was an exceptional leader, great character, tremendously loyal. From 1961 to 1970, Bobby was an assistant football and basketball coach at Highland High School. He was part of the football championship staffs in 1963 and 64, and 1965 and 1966. Also a part of the basketball staff that were runner-ups in 1965 and 1966, and 1968 and 1969. Bobby was also an assistant coach for the North-South All-Star Game in 1970. He was the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club from 1972 to 1999, executive secretary-treasurer of the New Mexico High School Coaches Association from 1974 to 2008. In addition, Bobby was also inducted to the Albuquerque, New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame in 2006. He was inducted into the National High School Athletic Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2002 and was inducted into the New Mexico Activities Association Hall of Fame in 2011. Here to accept a special recognition award for Bobby, who passed away on October 16, 2024, is his daughter, Leslie Stern.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? It's been less than a year since we lost such a wonderful man. It is with deep gratitude and immense pride that I stand before you today to accept this incredible honor to the Highland High School Sports Hall of Fame on behalf of my father, Coach Bobby Gibbs. This moment is not just a celebration of his accomplishments. It's a testament to his legacy of a lifetime of dedication, passion, and love for the Albuquerque sports and youth community, and just how deeply his life and career touched so many people. If he were here today, I know he'd be both deeply moved and humbled, not just by this recognition, but by the fact that it comes from a place that meant so much to him, Highland High School. He truly had a deep pride for the years he spent coaching here. This gym, this school, those fields, they weren't just backdrops to his story or places he worked. They were home and where it all began in 1961, where Bobby, as a young teacher with big dreams of mentoring the next generation and a bigger heart, learned about hard work, teamwork, perseverance, and everything else that came along with coaching. He carried those lessons that helped shape him to become an exceptional leader and beloved figure with a long resume within the sports community throughout his many years with the Albuquerque Boys and Girls Clubs and the New Mexico High School Coaches Association. Yes, his years here at Highland High School were a chapter of his life, but for my dad, it was a huge foundation that helped him gain tenacity, friendships that lasted a lifetime, and a belief that with enough effort, anything was possible, and the simple but so important fact to always lead by example. Here at Highland in the 1960s were memorable to me as his child, a coach's kid. We lived across the street from Highland on Jackson. Dad would walk to school, and often I would stand on the corner with my little dog and watch football practice. I remember running under the gym bleachers, and my dad told me that I once ran out on the basketball court in the middle of a heated game, and one of the players quickly got me safely back in the stands. There were countless rides in the back of Mary Gentry's station wagon on our way to watch the football games at Wilson Stadium. And of course, how could I forget the parties after each game? Boy, those coaches and their wives, they really knew how to celebrate those winning games. In this very gym, I watched my dad and the other coaches actually play a basketball game while riding on the back of a donkey. One time, I was lucky enough to ride on the bus with my dad to an away game, and a player read to me and gave me his Archie comic book. The fundraising spaghetti dinners were delicious, and Tommy Gentry, and I would try to hide inside the hallway lockers. Bobby believed in coaching not just as a job, but as a calling. He believed that sports weren't just about winning. They were about character, resilience, and leaving things better than you found them. And these values he learned here at Highland High School never left him. Under the guidance of the legendary Coach Bill Gentry and Tom Hogue, he didn't just teach the game of football or basketball. He taught discipline, responsibility, humility, and heart. Bobby cared more about the kind of people his players became than the records on the scoreboard. He found joy in watching a young man grow into their potential, gain confidence, and learn what it meant to be part of something bigger than themselves. As a mentor to many, he had a quiet commitment to lifting others along the way. To the players he coached, thank you. Danny Hayes. You meant everything to him. Your effort, your respect, your trust, those were his real trophies. To his fellow coaches, school staff, and community who worked with him, thank you for standing beside him, challenging him, and sharing in the joy of the game. You were a part of his journey, and today's honor belongs to you as well. He didn't do it alone, and he would be the first to say that. To the Hall of Fame committee, thank you for honoring not just what he accomplished, but acknowledging his service and dynamic leadership. Thank you for keeping the spirit of this school's athletic legacy alive, and for reminding us how important an impact high school sports can truly have on people. Bobby gave his time, his energy, and more than anything, his integrity to the Albuquerque athletic community. And while we're here today to honor his achievements, I believe his greatest legacy lies in the people he inspired and the values he passed down. Dad, this honor belongs to you. You earned it. You may not be here with us physically, but you're here in every memory, every lesson, and every life you helped shape. Highland High School always has had a special place in your heart, and today it gives a piece of that heart back to you. We love you, we miss you, and I am so proud to accept this honor in your name. Thank you.
Let's give another one more big hand to our special recognition honoree, Bobby Gibbs. A great speech by his daughter, Leslie. Got some special guests in the crowd I'd like to recognize, and there's a lot of them, so we'll be getting as many as we see. From the class of 2023, Lloyd McPeters. Wherever you are, Lloyd, you can raise your hand. I just saw him here. I know he's here. Former Highland head basketball coach and current Sandia basketball coach, Danny Brown. Current Volcano Boys basketball coach, coming off of four straight championships, Greg Brown. Their mother, Carol Brown, can't forget about her. And a couple of guys that aren't Hornets, former Albuquerque High football and basketball star, but who's been very generous in assisting Highland, Roscoe Locke. Former El Dorado safety and quarterback. He actually did spend 1 year here as a Hornet, and a former UNM safety, Steve Sauter. We've got 2 Highland athletes currently that we'd like to recognize as part of our special recognition. Our first athlete we'd like to recognize is Rebecca Neal. Rebecca is a 4-sport athlete. was all-district midfielder in soccer, all-district performer in basketball, and also a state champion powerlifter in the 148-pound division. And in track and field, she became a state champion in the high jump. Neil has also participated in volleyball and swimming, is a black belt in karate, carries a 4.3 GPA, and this May was named the Albuquerque Journal Athlete of the Year. Rebecca plays basketball for her dad, Lonnie, who's the Hornets head basketball coach. She is a junior and has one more year of eligibility. Rebecca sent us this statement, which I'll read now. Being a Hornet means more to me than wearing a jersey, means being part of a family. Support I receive from my coaches, teachers, and fellow students, as well as my family and friends, has been absolutely incredible. Let's give her a big hand to Rebecca Neal. Our second special recognition we'd like to speak about is Michaela Lovato. Michaela was a six-sport athlete for Highland and earned more varsity letters than any athlete in Highland's rich 75-year history of athletics. During the 2024-25 season, she competed in soccer, cross country, basketball, powerlifting, golf, and track and field. She qualified for state in golf, powerlifting, cross country, and track and field, and competed at state with the Hornets basketball team. She graduated from Highland with a 4.7 GPA and also competed in ROTC and chess. She accepted an appointment to the Naval Academy in Maryland, and according to her father, Highland head football coach Phil Lovato, she is qualified as an expert in marksmanship and is excelling during her plebe summer. Let's give a big hand to Michaela Lovato. Let's move on now to our recognition of our Hall of Fame athletes. Our next athlete for induction into the 2025 Highland Sports Hall of Fame is Jim Zanios. Jim was a 1961 graduate of Highland High School, competed in football and track and field, was a member of the 1961 state champions here at Highland. He anchored the 440 relay and 880 relay. He attended Texas Tech University, where he was the lead blocker for Donnie Anderson, who had an 11-year career with the Green Bay Packers and the St. Louis Cardinals. Jim was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. Here to accept his induction into the Highland Sports Hall of Fame is Jim Zanios.
Thank you, Dave Bromo, for nominating me. Thank you for the committee. Had this all planned out and it didn't work. I wanted to mention Cecil Kasdorf, the All-State tackle from our team, passed away about a month ago. The greatest guy. And I'm glad they mentioned Gary. I love Gary's Pittsburgh. You know, seems like yesterday we were standing here crying over losing to Farmington, not winning state. But the greatest time of my life was Highland High. Gotta get hold of myself. I didn't have the great background these guys had. I didn't play till I was a senior. I played on the freshman and junior team. As Bob said, I weighed 140, I weighed 115. And I grew up and I didn't even make the starting team. I was very disappointed. Coach Gentry was a tough guy and we didn't always see eye to eye. But on the very first play of the game against Trinidad, somebody broke their arm. And he looked at Coach Sanchez, and so Sanchez pointed at me. Zanius, come over here. He said, go in there and play linebacker. I said, well, what do? I'd never played anything but quarterback. He said, just go get the ball. And he never said another word to me. I blitzed. I played quarterback, so I always noticed the gaps between the quarterback and the center. And I blitzed all year. That's all I knew how to do was blitz. Unless we played a real strong team, then I'd stay back with the other linebackers to stop the team. We only had one team that threatened us. That was Sandia. That was 13-0. That was the toughest game we played. Well, we had a great team. Jack, if Coach Gentry just would have let Jack pass, we'd have never lost. But we didn't. He was from the old school. And so I played, I blitzed, I ran as hard as I could, I wore myself out. I wasn't a very good guard, that's the other position I had to play. Coach would always call me out of the game, say, they tell me you're not blocking. I said, well, that's probably right. He said, well, get your ass back in there. And I wasn't a very good guard, I'll admit that, but I played football and I loved it. My dream came true, I got to play. And then after the big disappointment of losing to Farmington, they were big, they had 2 tackles that played 25 combined years in the NFL that we played. They were so big we never saw anybody like that. One of them was my dear friend who just died, Ralph Neely. Anyway, moving on from that, we in the spring, Coach Sanchez came to one of my classes and knocked on the door and he asked the teacher sent me out and he said, Jim, one of my sprinters broke his foot or his leg or something. He said, I need you to run track. I said, Coach, I never ran track. He said, well, you can run. So he trained me, worked with me, and taught me how to start and how to pass the baton or catch the baton or whatever. He worked so much time with me. He was really my favorite coach here. I love Coach Gentry. I went to see him when he was about 80. We took him to lunch with Jimmy Holzman, who was a great treat for me and Coach. You know, I went over to his house, picked him up, and he said, do you remember that damn Farmington game? They went down the field and called 2 touchdowns back. And I said, I don't remember that, Coach, but we lost. That's all I can remember. He knew every play, every penalty, he was an amazing guy. I thought it was funny that he never would throw the ball, and then he raises a grandson and throws the ball for 50,000 yards in high school. Anyway, I want to thank you all for letting me be here. I went on to Texas Tech. I was going to play for the Lobos. I had a couple offers in the Midwest, Oklahoma. And I had lost my scholarship to Oklahoma over some stupid thing I did in the gym over here. They said, come up, pay your first semester, and I didn't want to do that. And that same day, Coach Huffman from Tech came by, and he said, well, Coach Gentry said you couldn't play football, but you could run. And I said, yeah, that's true. He said, well, do you want a scholarship at Texas Tech? I sure do. It just came out of my mouth. I didn't even think about it. And played 4 years there. Played halfback 2 years, and then the next 2 years I blocked for the great Donnie Henderson. He was the king of the team, you know. He never practiced. He never got any grass on his jersey or his pants, either one. He was a real athlete, 6'3", 225. He could play baseball, track, basketball. He was fabulous. Anyway, we had a pretty good, it was a tough conference. Southwest Conference was tough. Guys were a lot bigger than I was used to seeing. So I had a good junior year, except I was beat up. We didn't have a second team fullback. I had a knocked down shoulder, a broken nose, and a sprained knee. And we're going up to play one of the World Conference champions, Arkansas, in Little Rock. That was the weekend President Kennedy was killed. So they gave me a little pill before the game, and I played like the dickens. But you can't play with those pills every game. And I went back and went in the hospital for about 10 days to get well. And my senior year, I bulked up. I wasn't going to get beat up like I did that junior year. And I weighed about 225. I'd run miles and run up and down the stadium. I was ready to go. After 4 games, I was leading the conference in rushing and scoring, and I got called in the coach's office, and he said, you know, Donnie doesn't like this. He said, we're going to have to limit your carries, and you be the blocker. I said, okay, Coach, I understand. I didn't understand, but I went along with it. Anyway, that's about it. I had a great time at Highland High. I loved it. I grew up here at Texas Tech. I didn't know why God sent me there, but it was to meet my wife. 60 years, Patsy. She gave me 2 beautiful sons, 4 great-grandchildren, and we just have a wonderful family. We both walk with Jesus and thank Jesus for everything we have. God bless you all. Thank you. You want to come down over here? All right. I can't make it without help.
Let's give another big hand to Jim Zanios. Wanted to recognize a few other guests that we have with us today. Hall of Fame track coach Jim Ciccarello, wherever you are, coach, right there in the front. Over here to the side of me, former Highland running back Mark Groves. To the left of me, former Highland quarterback and son of Bill Gentry, Tom Gentry. His son, Zach Gentry, former Michigan tight end, former El Dorado star, and former Pittsburgh Steeler tight end, Zach Gentry. Former All-City guard basketball, Joe Bradley. Former Highland star basketball player, Oscar Huber. Mike Podrell, who lettered in track, football, and basketball here. Let's get back to our inductees. Our next inductee is John Scott East. John graduated from Highland in 1981. City meet, he was first on the 110 high hurdles, first in the 165 low hurdles. At the district meet, he was first in the 110 hurdles, first in the 165 low hurdles. At the state meet, he was fifth in the 110 hurdles, first in the 165 low hurdles, setting the state record. The Great Southwest track meet, he was fifth in the 300 intermediate hurdles, where he was named an honorable mention All-American. State meet in 1981, John ripped the state record by almost 1/10 of a second and was 2/100th of a second from a national record. For graduating from Highland, John received a track scholarship to the University of New Mexico. After that, John took up footbag and won 4th place in an international competition. Here to accept his induction into the 2025 Highland Sports Hall of Fame is John Scott East.
Wow. A little nervous, bear with me. So this is a great honor. I stand before you very humbled. It's just a great honor. First and foremost, I want to thank the committee. And, I'm going to start out first and foremost to my coaches. They were just amazing. Your guidance, your wisdom, the relentless belief to my potential, it just never ended. I'm going to single out a few. My very first coach at Whittier Elementary School is Jim Ciccarello. He got me running when I was in 1st grade. He kept me running all the way through 6th grade. And he's still coaching. What a legacy. Then I want to honor Coach Henry Sanchez. He's the one that recruited me to run track. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was a freshman. The second semester of my freshman year, he let me be a teacher's assistant. And that was
the easiest class I had at Highland High School. And it was he was just a good mentor. And then I also want to talk about his son. His son, Gary, he was my personal coach on the track team. He was the sprinters coach, and he taught me the hurdles. 4 years. There was one night, it was snowing like crazy. Everybody was in the gym, and we were still out there running hurdles in the snow. I'll never forget that. And then to my family. You know, my family was terrific. They were my rock, my inspiration, and they kept me going. My mom and dad, Mom, they gave me the supplies, the tools, and the support, whether it's in the morning workouts or the evening workouts. It didn't matter. And then my brother, like siblings, we always fought and we always competed. Then we'd compete and then we'd fight again. So that's what brothers do, and I love you, Jim. To everyone else who believed in me, there's a lot of them. Two that really stand out to me, and one is Ed Nunez. He was a terrific athlete, and he was an inspiration to me. A little bit older, but he kind of, I just appreciated how he held himself high. And then also John Uliberry. They were both basketball players, and on my freshman year going in, I played basketball under Ray Martinez. This is a moment come true, a dream come true for me. I'll cherish it forever. But as I stand here, it's reminded this honor is not about individual success. It's about the community that surrounds us, the bonds that we forge, and the legacy we leave behind. I also want to thank God and my church, New Testament Christian Church, my pastor, Hicks, Reverend Atencio, and my good friend, Jorge Martinez. As I look around this room, I'm not just a fellow inductee, but a family of athletes who have dedicated their lives to their passions. Together we've faced challenges, celebrated victories, and learned valuable lessons. Thank you again for this incredible honor. I'm excited to continue this journey, to give back to and inspire them to chase their dreams. Here's to the future, to the memories we created, and to the legacy we will continue to build together at Highland High School. I also want to honor my team. My team was an awesome team. We were loaded. And that team also won a state title for a team title. And that was an amazing because you had to, competition is contagious. Success is contagious. And to be on that team was a great honor. Thank you again for everyone coming. Thank you.
Let's give one more big hand for John Scott East. I would like to call board member Marie Smith Everett to the podium for our next induction.
Our next inductee is Carol Hudson Knauber. She graduated in 1973. She ran for AAU cross country and track with the Albuquerque Olympiads in 1963 to 67. She also represented Highland in field hockey and speedway against Albuquerque high schools, playing with Coach Vadana. She also qualified for the 1972 Olympics in the 440 meter run. Due to her age restrictions, she was not able to go. She also posted a time of .05.1 in the 880 meter run, missing qualifying by .05 flat. And so she was not able to go to the Olympics. However, she did go on to coach high school cross country and track for El Dorado and La Cueva. Her teams won 17 city and district titles and 2 state titles. She was inducted into the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame class of 2001. She was not able to come, but she did give me a few words to speak for her. I am extremely honored to be inducted in the Highland High School Sports Hall of Fame. I would like to sincerely thank the committee and board members for this prestigious and wonderful nomination and recognition. Anymore at my age, it's always good to be seen and remembered. I would also like to thank Buddy Robinson for his constant support of my family and I throughout our athletic and coaching careers. We are eternally grateful to him. When I attended Highland High School, women's sports was non-existent. We were allowed to compete intramurally in field hockey and a lesser-known sport called speedway, which I loved because it involved a lot of running. Highland, of course, dominated, and I do not recall ever getting beat. My claim to fame, however, was track and field, and was only offered as a boys' sport which girls could compete in starting in my senior year. I chose to continue with my city team instead. I also met my husband at Highland. There's one of for the record books, as Jack did too, so just finding that out today. Highland High School sweetheart and still going strong. Thank you again for this wonderful honor. I will always cherish it. Sincerely, Carol Hudson Knobber.
Let's give another big hand for Carol Hudson Knobber. Recognition of some more Highland athletes of the past in the back. Former defensive lineman, 1981, Jimmy Love. Sitting next to him, former Highland star running back Vernon Howell. Next to Vernon on his right, former Highland cornerback Clifton Spencer. Up in the stands, my former Highland teammate, Highland basketball star John Uleberry. And in the front here, former girls head coach and Highland basketball player in 1975, Chris Martinez. Our next inductee into the Highland Sports Hall of Fame is Marty Peterson. Marty graduated from Highland in 1977. He was a Tribune Basketball Player of the Year, first team All-City, first team All-District on the All-State team, made the North-South All-Star team and also All-State team, leading rebounder in the city, top 5 scoring leader in the city, school record for rebounding, high point scorer for Highland in 1976 and 1977, averaging 20 points a game. Marty was the Highland High School most valuable athlete in 1977. He was a member of the 1977 Highland runner-up team that year. After graduating from Highland, Marty played in an all-star game against the Russians in Albuquerque at the Pit. Marty played basketball at Yavapai Junior College and Loyola Marymount University on scholarship. Here to accept his induction into the Highland Sports Hall of Fame is Marty Peterson.
Good afternoon, everyone. I used to spend a lot of time in this gym. It brings back great memories. I can't believe it's been 48 years since I last played here. You know, today is also a reunion for me because there are some teammates of mine from back then that I haven't seen since then that are here. Thank you for coming. It's great to see you again. Those were some of the best years of my life. You know, I almost didn't get to go to school here. We lived in the Del Norte School District. My older sister went to Del Norte, but just before I was going to go to high school, they changed the district boundaries, and I was able to go here. I enjoyed everything about Highland. My classmates, the teachers, the facilities, the coaches. I really learned a lot playing for Coach Tom Hogue. In my first year, he put me on both the varsity and junior varsity teams. I was allowed to play 3 quarters in the junior varsity game, and then 1 quarter in the varsity game. The junior varsity teams played right before the varsity teams. I think getting to play a little varsity time helped me in my junior year. I made All-City my next year as a junior. I'm glad Coach Hogue was previously inducted to Highland's Hall of Fame. He coached 1 state championship team, and I was lucky enough to be on both of his second-place teams. I also did very well academically at Highland. One of the universities I got an offer to play for was going to put me on an academic scholarship rather than give me one of their athletic scholarships. I had discussed my college options with Coach Hogue, and he contacted Coach Dave Brown at Yavapai College in Prescott, Arizona about me. He knew Dave Brown because Dave Brown went to school at Highland here. I decided to go to Yavapai because Arizona had a competitive junior college league, and I could immediately get a lot of playing time at the junior college level. Dave Duggan, who was one of my teammates at Highland, decided to go to Yavapai also. This ended up being a good decision for me because I was immediately able to be a starter for them. We came in second in our conference in my sophomore year, and I was voted to the junior college All-Southwest team. This allowed me to get a scholarship to Loyola Marymount University. My parents didn't have a lot of money, and I would not have been able to go to a very expensive private university like Loyola without a scholarship. My basketball career gave me many great life experiences, and Highland started me on that path. Here are a few of those. In my senior year at Highland, New Mexico's high school basketball rules changed to allow dunks in games for the first time. On opening day, we had our first game at Cibola High School. Early in the game, I got a breakaway and dunked the ball. The next day, there was a big write-up in the newspaper about me having the first dunk. So I get to say I'm the first New Mexico high school player to get a dunk in a game. After my senior year at Highland, I got to play on an all-Southwest All-Star team against a Russian junior All-Star team. There was a lot of pomp and circumstance to the game, playing both the national anthems and exchanging medals. This was the first year I got to play in All-Star games, and I got to play 3. At Yavapai, in the summer between my first and second years, our team was able to go on a week-long basketball playing tour in New Zealand. We played their national team and other club teams around their 2 islands. I'd never been outside the United States before that. In groups of 2, we actually stayed in people's homes. I have a couple funny stories about not understanding their cultures correctly and saying they're doing things. At Loyola, we were very near the Forum where the Lakers played. The Forum was also home to the Kings hockey team, and they had many other events there. If the Lakers or a visiting team needed to practice and the Forum was not available, they would come to our gym right before our practice, or practice right before our practice. So every few weeks, we could be in the bleachers and as close to the NBA players as we are now, watching them finish up their practice. The best thing I ever saw there was one time the 76ers were in town in our gym, and Julius Irving and Daryl Dawkins decided to have an informal slam dunk contest. It was unreal of the things that they could do. Lastly, in my junior year at Loyola, we won our conference and got to play in the NCAA playoffs. We were a number 16 seed in the Southwest bracket. The number one team we had to play was Arizona State. Phoenix had been already picked as the location for that bracket, so it was a home game for Arizona State. All of their 5 starters, Lafayette Lever, Byron Scott, Sam Williams, Kurt Nymphius, and Alton Lister, went on to be starters for the NBA teams. Essentially, they had a talent of an NBA team. They beat us pretty handily, but we literally got to know what it was like playing against a pro team. With that, thank you to the Highland Hall of Fame Selection Committee for inducting me. It's a real honor being in the Hall of Fame. And thank you to all my teammates who helped me in my basketball career. Thank you very much.
Let's give another big hand to Marty Peterson. We recognize a couple more Highland athletes of the past in the back. Former Highland football star Richard Gonzagowski. And he was hiding from me here in the front, but former Highland tight end and 400 and 800 track runner Danny Lamar. Our next inductee into the Highland Sports Hall of Fame is Chuck Clausen. Chuck graduated from Highland in 1958. He participated in football and wrestling. In football, Chuck was All-City and All-State Athlete of the Month. He was part of the wrestling championship teams in 1956 and 57, and 57 and 58. He attended the University of New Mexico, playing football for the Lobos. He was an assistant coach under Marv Levy and Lou Holtz at William and Mary. He also assisted Woody Hayes at Ohio State, where he coached in 4 Rose Bowls. In the NFL, Chuck was an assistant coach for the Atlanta Falcons, San Diego Chargers, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Chuck passed away on December 26, 2015. Here to accept Chuck into the Highland Sports Hall of Fame in 2020 is 2025 inductee Bob McCorkle.
I got to reclaim 32 seconds from my first time up. I forgot to thank Dave Brummel for nominating me, and if I've already thanked him, I apologize, but I'll do it again. Dave was the pitcher, I was the catcher when we won the 1959 state baseball championship, the last game I ever played at Highland, and the only state championship Highland won at that time. Thanks again, Dave. Now I get to talk a little bit about Chuck Clausen. Chuck Clausen was an enigma. There was one Chuck Clausen and only one Chuck Clausen. His family moved to Albuquerque in the early 50s when his dad, Dick Clausen, became the head football coach at UNM. Marv Levy, who you've heard about, was his assistant coach, and the 2 sons, Chuck Clausen and Monty Clausen. Chuck Started at Highland in 1959. He was, as Ed has just told you, he was literally all everything in both football and wrestling. Player of the month, athlete of the year. I mean, he was it. Chuck Clausen is the first guy I ever saw that had lifted weights, and he had become just a great big guy, very strong. I suppose he lifted weights because he was around his father's college football teams, but with Chuck was intimidating, he was unstoppable. He had one speed, full speed, 100%. Coach Hackett, who had, I guess, coached football for longer than anybody, said that the 1957 football team was far and away the best football team Highland ever had. Chuck was the inspiration. We got a dissent there? Yeah, okay. Did he tell you you were the best football team too? What? 79, 80. Oh, well, Hugh Hackett was gone by then. So that didn't count. So it was still Hugh Hackett's best football team. Anyway, Chuck Clausen was the inspiration for that football team. He pushed them to be better, stronger, fearless, and to believe they were unbeatable. He was the backbone of that team. There were 3 juniors on that team. I was one of them. Another one was a starter. So if you subtract 1 from 11, that leaves 10. So there was 10 guys that were eligible for the North-South team, and 9 guys made the North-South team. Yeah. I can name all those guys for you. You want me to do it? You getting tired? You afraid you have to come back up here? Anyway, I held extra points for that team, and you never want to hold extra points because there's only one way people notice you, and that's when you don't get the extra point. Well, that football team lost to Artesia by 1 point, and I held the extra points, and I have no idea to this day what happened, but Chuck Clausen was a staunch defender of mine and said something one time. He said, we all did our best, and he never raised any concerns about the fact that one of the extra points I was holding didn't make it. I had to get this because, you know, we all have these books, and the Highland 1958, and I wanted to read you what he wrote to me. He'll tell you a lot about Chuck. Bob, to that fiery redhead athlete and a good friend of my brother, a few suggestions for the coming year. Make All-State quarterback, kick the hell out of the Bulldogs. Now, I think the Bulldogs met Albuquerque High, although Artesia was also the team that beat us. Make All-State in basketball. Kick the hell out of the Bulldogs. Repeat as All-State in baseball. Kick the hell out of the Bulldogs. P.S. Kick the hell out of the Bulldogs. We played a football game against Austin. I think it was Austin. Anyway, El Paso. It was raining every minute of that game. Now, when the game was over, the plan was we'd all get on a bus and go back to Albuquerque. Chuck took off his pads and laid down on the floor, and he had all the skin burned off of his back. It was just god-awful, horrible to see, but he had never complained, never stopped, played every minute of that game. We had to stop at the emergency room in Las Cruces to get treatment, but that's the kind of guy Chuck was. Nothing held him back. His brother, Monty Clausen, 1 year younger than he was my class, and was actually probably my best friend at Highland. Chuck bossed his brother around under threat of a real physical thrashing. One time, Monty, his brother, didn't put one of the blocking dummies up like Chuck had told him to. Chuck put it up and screamed, "Don't any of you dare give my brother a ride home." Well, hell, I had to take him home. You know, he lived a long way, so I take him home, but I stop 6 blocks away from the house, and I say, "Monty, you're on your own." You know, I'm not a wrestling fan, don't know anything about it, but one time they had the wrestling mat here, and they brought it in here because there was a team from Arizona coming, and they had this hotshot wrestler who, like Chuck, had never been defeated. This guy was just like a small Chuck, but a little quicker. And they made a big deal about this guy was undefeated, and as far as I could tell, not knowing anything about it, this guy spent the whole time kind of running from Chuck. When Chuck finally got him, the guy from Arizona, Amarillo, was no longer undefeated. I don't want to dwell too much on the relationship with Chuck and his brother, but I know one time, well, let's put it this way, all hell broke loose anytime Chuck lost his temper. He was reading the newspaper or something, and his brother reached over and grabbed it. Chuck literally flew across the table right in front of his parents, chased his brother. His brother locked himself in his room. Chuck knocked the door down. Fortunately, Dick Clausen, who's a pretty good-sized guy, caught him just as he was catching up with his brother. Chuck played football at the university for Marv Levy, and I was at a practice one time when a guy, I don't remember what he was, maybe a newspaper guy, came up and said, "How's that Clausen guy as a football player?" And he says, "He's a terrific ball player, but we can't get him to take it easy in practice, and he's maiming all of his teammates." So I said he had one speed. Chuck's parents were actually worried about him that he might get shot or something because he was in so many situations where he pushed guys around, and when he pushed guys around, you know, he pushed them around. He was unstoppable. Now, Ed has already kind of given you the history of what he did after he got out of the university. He stayed in coaching. His coaching career was phenomenal. I won't repeat the various teams that he was on, but he was a defensive coach, and at that level, you're not teaching blocking and tackling. You're figuring out a scheme to beat the next team you play, and Chuck Clausen gained the reputation of being the best defensive coach in the NFL. When Dick Vermeil left college ranks and went to college, he made him not the defensive line coach, but the defensive coach. And when Vermeil got fired, Clausen was hired in the same capacity as the defensive coach for San Diego, and then he went on to Atlanta. He was frequently given credit for the wins of whatever team he was on because he was so skilled at developing the defense for the NFL. After he quit coaching, he coached for over 30 years, most of it in the NFL. He became a fairly successful in the business of commercial real estate in Atlanta. Like Ed has told you, He died 9 years ago at age 75. I finally found his obituary, and he's the only guy I've ever seen that got better looking as he got older. He was really a handsome guy by the time he died. He married his sweetheart from Highland High School, Betsy. She was my wife's sorority sister, and Kathy has told me how beautiful she was, and they stayed together that whole time until he died 9 years ago. I don't know any better way to put it than I never knew anyone like Chuck Clausen, but I mean it as a compliment. If he was ever on your side, he was always on your side, and he left a trail of incredible contributions to coaching in the NFL. We tried, a few of us tried, to get the university to hire him as the head coach, football coach of the UNM team, and I still think it was the university's mistake not to hire him, because everywhere he coached was a little more successful than the New Mexico Lobos were. Thank you. You gonna catch me?
Let's give one more big hand to Chuck Clausen. Our next inductee in the Highland Sports Hall of Fame is Ted Russell. Ted graduated from Highland in 1964, where he participated in tennis. He was a three-time NMAA state individual champion while at Highland, played 4 years varsity tennis at UNM, where he was ranked #1. He also won numerous New Mexico Opens and won the prestigious Southwest Tournament as well. Ted passed away on December 19th, 1976. Here to accept his induction into the Highland Sports Hall of Fame is his brother, Tim.
Just, yeah, if you want. Ed, I wanted to thank you for asking me to be here, and thank you for selecting Ted to be in the Hall of Fame. I wanted to I know that Ted had a lot of people that he would thank, but probably in hindsight, my parents and my father, who was a state champion in Michigan, and taught Ted and I to play tennis. There was always that point where both of us thought that we knew more than him, and that's when our teaching ended. But I do appreciate that you guys have honored Ted. He passed away in an auto accident when he was 30, but he was probably one of the best tennis players to ever play at Highland High and New Mexico. As a college coach, I played tennis as well, and Ted was my coach, and I always remember him coming up with little tidbits like, "Are you trying to lose this match?" And of course, I was trying very hard to win the match. Ted and I traveled. This was before tennis had much money in it, and Ted and I decided we were going to go play tournaments in Europe. And so we put together probably a couple $1,000s in cash, and went to play tennis tournaments. And we would travel around. You'd get prize money of maybe $200-300. He seemed to win a little bit more than I did. But we had a great experience traveling through Spain. And I always remember, well, we traveled through Spain, Germany, Great Britain, and we were traveling from Spain to Paris. My sister had a place that we could stay, so, you know, that was a great thing. But we decided to hitchhike. Well, Ted was 6'4", so nobody wanted to pick up this huge guy, so I would always go out there and you'd be the guy hitchhiking, and that's how we got rides back to Paris. But anyway, I did want to I appreciate everything that you guys have done and everything that my brother did for me. I understood a lot more. The tennis community is really a small community. All the tennis players that went through Highland, I can name you 20 guys that won state that were Highland High School tennis players. And I really do appreciate, you know, it's an honor for you to have chosen Ted to become a member of the Hall of Fame here. Dwight is one of Ted's teammates in college, and he wanted to say just a few words in respect to my brother, and I appreciate that he can come and do this. And that they actually weren't on the team together, but Ted was
Great.
Basically the coach when we played in college. So, Dwight Howard.
Well, thanks. I appreciate this. I don't know how many of you guys did it without glasses. I can't see a thing. I just wanted to do this because Ted and I became very close. I met Ted in 1965. I came over to Santa Fe and played Ted in a tournament there in Santa Fe and actually split sets with him, so it was pretty close. And I always wondered if maybe that's how I got my scholarship 2 years later. But in 1967, I came here from Texas A&M. I transferred over. And in that day, you had to actually sit out a year. So I sat out and did not get to play on that 1968 championship team. But I was on the team, I just wasn't one of the players. And that was the year that we won conference against some awfully good players. You know, it was Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, Brigham Young, great tennis players. And Ted was about the best. He was really good. And that team was really good. So anyway, I wanted to just say a few things about what it was like when I got to UNM. Ted was my roommate. He was a senior and I was a sophomore. And I always thought, golly, he must think this is weird for me to be a sophomore and he's a senior in the dorm. But we remained pretty good friends for a long time. And we lived together in a house and an apartment and different things along the way. And I watched him play some great tennis for a long time, and we had an awfully good team. There was one fellow's in the Hall of Honor at UNM. And anyway, I wanted to just tell you those things. So anyway, I didn't get to play on that 1968 team, but we had good teams after that, just not quite as good. I want to say that Ted was a really unusual studier. He would stay up all night, never studied previously, but he'd stay up all night long. He'd go in the next day and he'd make an A on every test. I was like, dang, how do you do that? Because I had to study all the time. Anyway, he won a number of championships in the Southwest, which was Arizona, New Mexico, and West Texas, and a lot of good tennis players. And he won several Southwest championships along the way in the summers and things like that. And I wanted to say, he went on to get his master's. I left after 3 more years. He went on to get his master's, and then he moved to Phoenix. And then I came back in 1974 to Albuquerque after going to school in Dallas a while. And I got to see Ted in 1975. I had my daughter with me, and I was watching the tournament. Ted had come from Phoenix to play in the Mexico Open. And I think he won it that year again. But Anyway, he came over and talked to me and got to meet my little girl who was only a year and a half at the time. And it meant so much to me because I had so much respect for Ted. And I know this was all college, but not Highland. But a lot of people along the way, and they're sitting in this room, have told me how great this school was and is now. And so I always heard about it, and I was happy that Tim asked me to do this. But anyway, I have two things to say that I don't even know if his family knows, but when one of the players on the team, Van Hill, who's in the Hall of Honor at UNM, Van, I was at his home once, and he comes into the room, he says, I don't think I've ever shown you this, but Ted, when they were in the dorm, he said, Van, sit down over there. And Ted sat down on the other thing and took out a pencil and drew a picture of Van. And I'm not kidding you, this is the best picture, I mean, it was perfect, of a pencil drawing of Van that he has on his wall, and it looks just like him. So he was obviously artistic as well. Very talented guy and stuff. Anyway, in 1975, it was the last time I got to see Ted. We heard from Tony Bull, another one of our players, that Ted had been in this accident. And that happened to be 3 days before our son was born. And our son, we didn't know at the time he was a boy, but if it was, he was going to be named David. But my wife insisted that day that he become Theodore. And so my son, who was a baseball player at Pius, but anyway, he was named after Ted Russell. So I wanted to let you all know that. And I have a picture of him at my wedding.
Just wanted to thank Dwight for coming up and
It's an
telling
honor.
some stories.
It's an honor to meet all of you, too.
I do want to say one more thing. Gig Brummel and Bobby Gibbs, they took up tennis. Well, we got a little bit more respect from those guys after that. Anyway, thank you very much.
Let's give one more big hand for Ted Russell. I want to recognize a couple of other Highland basketball players. Steve Alderetti, he had to leave, but Steve was here, a player from 1980. Also want to recognize the Highland football team. Thanks for them being here. They've got their first game against Monzano, so go Hornets. And to the left of us, City Councilor Renee Grau, thanks for being here. Our next inductee into the Highland Sports Hall of Fame is Dan Hayes. Dan graduated from Highland in 1964. He was leading scorer, averaging 15 points a game. He was first team all-district and all-city, all-state. He made the North all-star team. He was the co-captain and played under head coach Mickey Miller, who was a 2023 Highland Sports Hall of Fame inductee. Played basketball at Casper College on scholarship. Played basketball at Eastern New Mexico University, where he became a two-time All-American. After playing at Eastern New Mexico, Dan turned to coaching. He coached at Oklahoma Christian for 33 seasons and had an overall record of 653 and 402. While there, he coached former Highland and current Sandia Boys basketball coach Danny Brown and current Volcano Boys head basketball coach Greg Brown. He had 724 wins in his collegiate coaching career. Here to accept his induction into the 2025 Highland Sports Hall of Fame is Dan Hayes.
I've been sitting so long, my feet are numb. So, Danny, tell Camille I lied last night when we ate. I said I was going to come up here and wing it. I lied. I wrote some stuff down at the hotel this morning. So, it's really great to be back in the Duke City. I've always been a proud Hornet everywhere I've been, every speech, every clinic, any honor that I've ever gotten. I've always made a point that I was from Albuquerque. And when Ed contacted me a few months ago and we talked, I was very excited about this. You know, in 2021, I received the most coveted award in the state of Oklahoma. It's the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. And that one kind of blew me away because that's for Johnny Bench, Mickey Mantle, people like that. And it was a big, big deal for me. But then I find out I was the second Highland Hornet to ever be inducted into the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. Tommy McDonald is also in that Hall of Fame. So there's two of us that are in that Hall of Fame. But I learned how to compete here at Highland. When I went to school here, freshmen were at Jefferson Junior High, Van Buren, and Wilson. We just had sophomores through seniors, 2,300 sophomores through seniors. So it was the biggest school in the state, and understand enrollment's dropped a little bit, but it had not then. But I decided early in my life that all I ever wanted to do was to play ball and be a PE teacher, because the coaches were the people that I respected the most. I've always thought it was an honor to be called coach. And to this day, I don't feel like I've ever worked a day in my life because of all the things that have come my way. But Bobby Gibbs was a special guy to me. You know, I signed my first contract as a student at Wells Park Community Center with the Albuquerque Parks and Recreation. I mean, I work at a place in Edmond, Oklahoma now called Solid Rock Basketball. And my grandson works out there. These kids get paid $10 an hour, okay, for doing things around the gym. My contract, I still have it. I still have to pull it out. I worked for Albuquerque Parks and Recreation for $1 an hour. And that was before deductions. So when the taxes came out of it, I made less than $1 an hour. But gas was 13 cents a gallon. French fries at McDonald's were 11 cents. So things were a little bit different. But everywhere the clinics I've taught, which have been, you know, all over with USA Basketball for 10 years and in competitions in Dominican Republic and Barbados, Hawaii 13 times, I always mentioned I was from Albuquerque. Always mentioned. So I was so glad to be here. And Andre Vaughn played for me. He was Gatorade Player of the Year for Danny Brown here at Highland. The Brown brothers who are here, Carol, great to see Carol, you know, the wife and sons of the Hall of Fame coach, you know, their father. And Danny and Greg both scored over 1,400 points for me at Oklahoma Christian. They helped me win a lot of games. They're 13 and 14 in the list right now. And I watch them on my computer all the time. Thought Danny was going to get Greg this year in the state finals, but he didn't. He didn't. I don't know where Danny is now, but I see Greg right there. But so proud of these guys. I had a lot of New Mexico guys that have played for me. Chris Rivera from El Dorado High School. I mentioned Andre Vaughn here from Highland. Ken Spencer from Sandia. So I tried to bring some of the Albuquerque flavor. Oklahoma is a great athletic state. Used to be a football state till the basketball world found out about the Oklahoma City Thunder. And now we're the